Hey everyone, so we have the latest deployment for Intune for AEC coming up. As some of you may know, Autodesk has started to release their 2026 products. AutoCAD versions have come out, so we're going to go through deploying AutoCAD 2026. So what I like to do is just grab the web download. You can see the installer file here. We'll go ahead and start that unzip process. Um, and kind of go from there. With my deployments, I like to unpackage it and let Intune package up the install files. This does a couple things. It takes out this unzip step from your deployment to computers. You have the files. I don't customize anything in this installer. I do that later with either registry keys or scripts that we run through other Intune deployments. We want this as clean as possible. You know, while Intune's amazing, Autodesk does not support it as an installer. It's not one of their supported features, and I get it. You know, it's not their tool. They don't care. But it is great for those of us who have to deploy to multiple offices, remote people, things like that. So here's our unzipped install. You can see it here. We're going to take this and drop it in our Autodesk folder inside our input folder that we use for deployment creation. What I like to do to make this simpler for file pathing is just take out the language and the space in the folder name. So you'll see in my Intune folder I'm going to use to make the install. I have multiple input folders, one for like everything else, one for Autodesk. I use this to basically do a copy command to move it to the C drive Autodesk folder everybody has, and then we run the install from there. So now that we have that, we look at our PowerShell script. This is one I had for Revit 2024. Really simple. First line, copy the install files to C Autodesk. Force it, make sure there's no issues. Then we're going to go and change this. So, here's our file path. So it's going to be C Autodesk, the name of our folder. So we'll just grab that, add that in here. Obviously, most of it doesn't change. You could just type it out. It's going to find the setup.exe and run with the -q. If you don't know what your quiet commands are, you have to do this in command prompt. So you would basically go to this, go to C. We're going to go to our folder path and put Autodesk. I need quotes because there's a space. Slash AutoCAD. So go into your folder, look at the setup, and here's where you may have a little guessing if you don't know what commands they used, if it's the -h, which a lot of the main programs are, or if it's a ~help, or if it's a slash. So you'll be able to find those. You'll be able to test those out. But basically what this will do is bring up your list of commands you can do against the EXE. The main programs are pretty simple. We're going to use the silent. Some of the plugins or updates may have more that you have to do. Like sometimes you have to specify like unattended or things like that, and kind of go from there. It just depends on the update, how it's bundled, things like that. So we know that we're going to use this right here for silent mode. So we'll go back in here. We already have the -q. We're going to save it. So now what do? We make our package, right? We go in. So now we're in PowerShell. We're going to go into our Intune folder. And in our Intune folder, we have our Intune WinApp.exe. And that's going to launch the process. You also see in my folder I have a decoder. That's great for unzipping your packages. If something's messed up or you need to change a script, we'll unzip it. You can then repackage it. But it is another useful tool to have. So in mine, we have the input Autodesk folder as our target. So then you want to get the setup file. That's the name of your PowerShell script. 26. And then your output folder, which is output. I don't specify catalog folder. Could you? Sure. I don't do it. It's going to take this and bundle it up. Now the speed of this is going to depend on your computer. So it could be fast if you have a really high-end like CAD Revit machine. But you know that's all going to vary. You know, the install unzip is for AutoCAD it's usually a couple gigs, not too crazy. So we'll let that kind of go. So you can see this one's kind of gearing up. And usually, like I would say, the first half or so of this zipping does take the longest, and then it starts to really fly. So we'll see that go. And then one of the things we always find to try to target is kind of our detection rules. A lot of times we look at the uninstall scripts. Sometimes we look at the exe of the file under program files. It's going to vary. I would say for something like Revit, um, you can very much just point that the exe was created, and that will make sure that, you know, for your main install that it's there. That's kind of one of the last few things that kind of goes there, and you're good to go. For AutoCAD, it's very different. You can't just target the AutoCAD exe, especially if you use multiple forms of AutoCAD. So if you're looking at civil, if you're looking at AutoCAD architecture and regular AutoCAD as deployments, you're going to want to target something specific to either standard AutoCAD or to AutoCAD architecture. And you'll find that in the kind of uninstall keys, where it'll be very specific to the version. So both civil and architecture and AutoCAD will have their own uninstall keys. The reason you can't do the exe is because if you install AutoCAD and AutoCAD architecture, you'll notice that they use the same, you know, C program folder. AutoCAD architecture may add a folder, but in terms of targeting, it's a lot in the same location, and sometimes you'll get false positives. So it's easier to use registry keys in that example. For example, if you're doing like an update install, like say Revit, you know, 1.8, there are specific registry keys that you can call out for those updates and be able to target that versus install location or file. So it's really going to depend on what you're installing, but you can definitely you know, kind of go through that and see. So now that this is almost wrapped up, we are going to go ahead and create our app. Well, actually, we'll run the install first, make sure everything's working. So we have our package. You can now see that sitting in our output. It's basically named the name of your PowerShell script by default. So if I go back and I go into input Autodesk, and then I'm going to go in there. So I'm here. I'm going to run my PowerShell script. I need to change my execution policy because I just set up this computer for running these things. So we will do that. So if you haven't done that before, you can go ahead and kind of set your machine to kind of allow everything you want to run. This is, you need to be an admin to do that. But it's up to you whether you want to set the execution policy to unrestricted, or if you want to do it specifically for specific files. But that should kind of go from there. Oh, I need to run as administrator. Hold on. My account should be administrator, but that's fine. So we'll do this. You'll also find sometimes your scripts may not run unless you're running PowerShell as an administrator, but we'll do that. Say yes to all. So then we'll go in. This is why your quotes are important, folks. And put Autodesk. So now we will run. So basically what this is going to do is it's just going to queue up that installer to run quiet mode. You'll start to notice it running in just a few minutes. Obviously, depending on like your scanning, things like that, things will come up. In terms of Defender, it'll go through the Defender, but you can already see it kind of running through setup. AutoCAD doesn't take that long to run. Some of the Revit installs that are much bigger, or some of the bigger applications. Revit's the biggest. Revit, if you unzip it, ends up being over 10 gigs sometimes, depending on the version, the install. So that is its own kind of animal. And CAD and a lot of others sit in like the 1 to 3. It's not that much bigger than like a desktop connector deployment, but we'll let this run. And then as soon as it's done, we can look at the registry and we can find our registry key that we will use for running our Intune app detection rules. So there's the installer kickoff. run. Maybe speed this part up in the the upload. Alright, so while that install's running, we're going to come here. One thing I always like to do is grab the icon here. I put this in my kind of Intune deployment so people can see it. We'll come in. We're going to create a new app, so we're in Intune. Under app type, we're doing a Win32 because that's the package we made. We're going to take that, select our app file. We're going to upload. So here we go. Find our Intune folder, our output. There you go. See, about 3 gigs. So that's a little bit bigger than a desktop connector deployment, but not crazy. So we're going to go ahead and start filling this out. AutoCAD 2026. Sometimes I like to come over to the help, either grab what's new kind of links, or I'll just take this link and we can go to new features with video and kind of see what's here. But we add this here because what you put in kind of the informational URL, all this shows up in company portal for your staff to see. So if they go to install it, they can click on it. So we'll go to our screenshots, we'll grab that. So that's there. You do have to add a publisher, so that would be Autodesk version 2026. You can create categories here. We have one for Autodesk. It's a filter in company portal to help people find it. So here is the interesting one. So I'm going to grab basically what we called out for 2025 and just change the name. So you're going to basically say, use the PowerShell execution bypass, R install. This is the name of your PowerShell script. So ours was AutoCAD 2026 install. You can always go back, look at it, and that's that. Let's see if this is finished. Not quite. That's still installing. So we're going to go back. For this, until the install's done, we'll grab this from the registry key. So for now, you don't need it necessarily. It's a 64-bit app. Just say Windows 10, any version. And then here's your detection rule. You can use a custom script. We just manually do it. For this, we're going to do a registry key. So here's what you'll find as soon as the install is done. So we'll go to registry. And we'll find local machine, software, Microsoft, Windows, current version. Then you're going to go find your uninstall keys. So these are here. And we'll wait to make sure AutoCAD finishes. See, I got the icon. So now I know there's going to be an uninstall key here. So I'm just going to look under the uninstall folder for AutoCAD 2026. So here you can see that I have 2026 installed. and so that's going to be my target. We're going to use this, and the other thing you'll find is there's going to be multiple keys. So here's one named private, here's one with the right display name. A lot of the Autodesk programs make multiple, so find the key you want to use. We'll grab this, and we'll go back here. We'll type in the key path. That's just copying and pasting that above. The value name is the specific key you want to target. So for us, that's display name. So display name, texture method, value. We do a string comparison. It equals what's there. So we know that's what's in the registry. Hit OK. Dependencies. This is more important for updates. Like you can add, say you're doing Revit, 0.1. You can add that the Revit app being installed as a dependency, and then say if you want it to automatically install the main app, which we say no. But what this will do is if the main app is there, it will install the update, and we'll show that in a different one. Supersedence, if you were installing over something, this would be where you use that. Assignments. For this, we actually don't require anybody to have it. We let our users go into company portal and install the versions they want. When we do standardize a version, like this just came out, but when we do standardize, say Revit to 2026, we'll force the AutoCAD install out, so all users have the right version of CAD to match their Revit. For now, though, we're just going to add all users for make it available for enrolled devices. This places it in company portal for them to be able to access and install. So here's kind of your update. We're going to let this create. After this creates and saves and uploads, I will go back and edit that uninstall string. You can find it usually here. It's not necessarily something you have to have, so you don't need to worry about it a ton, but usually there's an uninstall command here. It looks like they've actually removed it from their registry keys, but you'll see in like a lot of versions like Desktop Connector there is one. So I'll show you that as an example. So here you'll have your uninstall string, and you can just copy and paste that in. The main apps, because the way they do updates now, it might not be there, so we will basically find use an uninstall command based on something else, or we'll leave it as not available for right now until we really need to remove it. So there's that. Our package is uploading, and that's kind of all there is to it. All of your main applications can be made this way. This is the first, and we'll get going. And your time to upload will just vary on the size of your item and your internet speed. Thanks all. Have a good one.